all please rise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance after me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so just do a quick invocation here. Dear Lord, please help us in making our decisions tonight for the best benefit of the city of Oak Grove and the residents. We also ask for your help in protecting our republic from all of the insults that it's been getting lately and protecting all of our protectors. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Jessica, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Meadow?
Here.
Councilmember Lowe?
Here.
Councilmember Lawrence?
Here.
Councilmember West?
Present.
Councilmember Treva?
Here.
Thank you. Okay, we have a public forum. If anybody is here that wishes to speak on something that's not on the agenda, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the clerk's record, and limit your remarks to 3 minutes.
Good evening. Joseph Muehlbauer, council member from City of St. Francis. Just here to address you guys about the Poppy Street situation. Obviously, half is yours, half is ours, or close to half and half, obviously. City lines get goofy when you get it a little further north. A couple points that Coleman, our administrator, put together for the record, I guess, is the municipal state aid requires 60 feet of right-of-way when using state aid money to reconstruct a street. St. Francis has their required right-of-way except for one parcel on the north, which is owned by the Village Bank. Oak Grove has 3 parcels that need right-of-way acquisition. If Oak Grove does not agree to obtain the right-of-way on their side, neither city can use their state aid funds on this road. Point 2, Oak Grove has indicated that they only have 3 residents on this road. When you lay out your state aid system, you're required to designate roads that are higher in volume or your collector streets. Therefore, the state aid designation inherently indicates that both cities decided this was a collector type road. I think probably because so many people use that road to get to the school and whatnot from everywhere. In 2006, City of Oak Grove completed a feasibility study for the reconstruction of Poppy Street south of 227th Avenue. Feasibility report recommended that curb and gutter be used on that segment south of 227th Avenue and has since been constructed with curb and gutter. It would make sense to continue the curb and gutter design to the north side since the segment of the street is more populated and will also match the existing design to the north end. City of St. Francis is willing to pay the entire cost of the trail, even though it will be used by the residents of both cities. And St. Francis is proposing a complete reconstruction of the road pavement and aggregate base in lieu of just the overlay or reclaim and pave. In our opinion, the road is due for complete reconstruct. And also, I don't know, to throw out our Hail Mary to try to get the road completed the way we would like to see it, and obviously doesn't obligate you guys to think the same way. Coleman wanted me to ask too, if possible, whether we get a meeting with myself, another council member, and both city administrators, if we can somehow work that out. That'd be great. So for your consideration, thank you for your time, and look forward to hopefully hearing from you and working with you guys in the future.
Okay, hold on a second, Joe. Anybody got any questions?
Well, I guess I don't have any questions, no.
Questions? Okay. Comments?
Well, that was the major sticking point for us, the MSA designation. That's why we checked into it. I mean, if we have to gain easement and do it that way, I don't think we were as in favor of it, so.
That's what I understood too from what I heard back from our guy, so.
On those 3 residents that we have, we basically have to cut a big, huge chunk of their trees down, which some of your residents have complained because of what's behind the trees. So it just gets worse and worse.
No, I get how it goes, both arguments both ways, I guess. And
Sure.
I'm not a big fan of right-of-way to begin with. Nonetheless, I think, some cases it's necessary and some it's not. But like I say, we're just here to throw our Hail Mary out
Sure.
and try to get our road done and save our residents some money as well as possibly yours if it was state aid. But understanding the situation too, that's up to you guys to whether or not you want to meet.
Well, we've tried to get a more accurate cost from our engineer too, as to
Okay.
what we should be willing to offer. But also, there's a problem with the MSA, and now all of a sudden being reduced too, so kind of throws another kick in the barrel there. So, but, yeah, I would assume that once we get our engineer's idea, we throw together some kind of a meeting and kind of finalize it one way or the other, either yes or no, or whatever.
Right. Well, I appreciate your guys' time.
Yeah, well, thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Appreciate it.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm a little shorter than him. My name is Hannah Beerbaum, and I live at 4632 Verde Valley here in Oak Grove. Today, I would like to express my concerns and my objections about the potential extension of a bike path through the Deer Ridge development that my neighbor Lisa has spoken on a previous occasion. My husband and I moved into the neighborhood in 2014, and we were the newbies on the street. Everybody else had been there before us. To my understanding, the neighborhood had gone through a bankrupt development, and because of that, our neighborhood is quite mismatched. Some of the blocks feature the curb and gutter system, while others feature the ditch and culvert drainage system, and our block specifically is the ditch and culvert. So my overwhelming concern for the proposal, or proposed trail extension, regards the obstructed drainage caused by the installment of a trail. The incomplete bike path currently in the neighborhood is both in need of repair and is located on blocks that do already feature that curb and gutter system. So a ditch and culvert system requires the trail to be set even further into the property owner's yard. If you look at the current bike trail, it's set a little closer to the road. In addition to drainage issues, a trail beyond the ditch and culvert in each yard would also make for difficult mowing and irrigation in a small and uneven area that would be left over. Current traffic doesn't necessarily warrant a trail system. Anecdotally, I'm a high school teacher, so I'm home quite a bit in the summer, and I see people walking past my home, perhaps 2 to 8 people per day. It's a very low traffic road. If the trail system extension is required, I understand the initial plan is to move throughout Oak Grove north to south so that that connects. I would recommend perhaps a designated bike path, adding that to the road instead of a separate trail that would intrude on residents' yards and cause more disruption. My neighbors and I have lived in this neighborhood for several years. Some are the original builders, and they've been in their home for 16 years. Like I said, I moved in 2014. And so we have established properties that we take pride in maintaining. We have established yards, irrigation systems, landscaping, trees, all of which would be at the expense of the homeowner to remove and or replace should a bike path be installed. Personally, my husband and I chose our lot because it is surrounded by these beautiful trees, and I'd be deeply saddened to lose any of those unnecessarily. Every year when he has to take down a dead tree, I say, no, can we just leave it up? But I know that's for safety reasons, of course, but we leave any trees that we can. So I appreciate that you are taking time to consider our concerns. We all appreciate your efforts to make Oak Grove a great place to live.
Thanks, Anna.
Question?
Thank you.
I don't have any questions, but I know that we are all concerned about it, and we all are going to discuss it more before we make a
Sure.
decision.
Yes, and I understand it's not even, I don't think it's even on the agenda tonight, right? It's perhaps next week.
No, because we don't feel that we've done enough research
Okay.
into it either, so.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good evening, everyone. Lisa McDaniel, 4614 Verde Valley Road. Also here in objection to any proposed bike paths in the Deer Ridge development. I won't repeat what I've already talked about a couple weeks ago in lieu of time. However, just wanted to make note that in addition to the residents that are here this evening, we've also started a petition within the development to make them aware of the potential bike path going in. I do have the petition with me this evening as well. I was able to get out for about 90 minutes last night. I hit 11 houses and all 11 homes agreed to sign our petition. Twofold. One, to support us as homeowners because we are impacted with our lots, like Hannah said, but also as well aware that, we're just in a development that the bike trails were not maintained. So for a variety of different reasons, which we can go into when this actually comes to vote here in a couple weeks. But we're going to continue to work towards petitioning more residents and making them aware of the potential bike trails that are coming in, but I just wanted to make you aware that we're doing that. And we would welcome to have any conversations with the with anyone on the council over the next couple weeks. I had a great conversation with Member Wolf this evening, so thank you so much for your time to talk through that. Very educational piece for me, and it's been a learning experience. How this whole piece of working through council and votes works. So we're learning as we go, and we appreciate your time and your diligence looking into the matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Diane, excuse me, Diane Pedersen, the Park Board member. At this time, I would like to change my position. I feel it would infringe on these people's property if we put that trail in there. Maybe we could find a more feasible way of using our money and not impacting on these residents, such as taking property away from them, trees away from them, and also impacting the drainage situation for them. So I hope you will continue on researching and looking into this.
Okay, thanks, Diane.
Thanks, Diane.
Dan.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Okay, we're on a different course here now. Don Nance, 21160 South Lake George Drive, Northwest. Originally, I thought there was going to be an agenda item tonight, and I know you're on top of this, okay, in regards to the pavement situation. That there's some further discussion that's going on, and eventually, hopefully, there's going to be a vote here soon, and that vote's going to be a yes, I hope. And I know there's still some things coming together, but I'm sure that you've been posted that there are 6 people that need to get the septic system attached. There is one contractor, I understand, that's doing those six systems. So we appreciate the support that the city's been providing, by the way, through Matt to be able to get this moving along and finalize from that standpoint so we don't have a separate situation as far as an abutment coming in and a separate charge with that. So this should be, I would think, within the next 2 weeks completed by that contractor. Depends upon weather circumstances, of course, and he was already out there. Today, I don't know that they did anything necessarily, but from that standpoint, since I was here and we have open discussion, I thought I'd just reiterate my concern. I would like to see the blacktop voted yes this year. And that's going to be a workable solution because I know you were supportive in getting these septic systems attached to the liquefied system to begin with. And I know you probably have a better idea now how many people are getting charged. And so I don't know if a new contract has been opened in regards to a contractor for bids again in that regard, or if you may be using the same contractor.
I think, go ahead, Lauren.
Speak to it. If we're aware of that. I believe we have 5 of the 6 connected, and there's a 6th one that we're trying to work through right now that has not committed to connecting. The plan is to have this on the next council agenda on July 13th. Our city engineer was unavailable for this meeting tonight, and we would like him here to discuss that. The plan is to keep the original bid, but we would be removing, we would do a change order to remove all the pipe work, and the city would take on that, that part of the installation, which would reduce the assessments to all the residents. And if we get all 6 people on the sewer connection, that can all go away. The contractor you're using is actually the contractor that would have been the subcontractor in the original project, but we always believed you could get a better deal on your own, and it sounds like you guys have worked something out to do that, which is great. That will just lower the overall cost of the assessment for all the residents there, and I think the council will be ready to take a vote on it on July 13th.
Okay.
Just curious, does the house that has the variance issue cause any concern with this?
That would be the 6th one. So the other 5 have made arrangements to connect with the contractor.
I guess that would be, there's one house that needs a variance of
Yeah.
some kind, and that would be the only holdback at this point.
Right, right.
That doesn't mean that we can't approve it.
Right.
Okay.
It just might hold it up somewhere along the line.
Yeah. I know you can't make any decisions tonight. It's not on the agenda, but
Right.
because we have an open discussion, I just want to make sure since I came, I want to at least address this.
Sure.
My neighbor's here too. I don't know if you have anything to say.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks,
Thank
Don.
you.
Good to see you.
Really thank you for all your support.
Yeah, well, you're welcome.
Aaron Norton, 21170 South Lake George Drive and 21177 South Lake George Drive. I am also here to ask for the SWIFT approval. Matt said there's about a month of work ahead of time before even the bituminous can come in. So like trees and grading and stuff like that. And so he was concerned that it wouldn't even get done this year. So I just want to encourage us to get going as soon as possible so that we can finish this year.
Okay.
So,
All right.
all right, thanks.
Thanks, welcome.
Thanks.
Lauren, are they still busy on Cedar Creek Drive? Or is that?
They still have some work to do, but they would be, if this is approved, they would be transitioning to that. Obviously, they haven't started doing any work on it because it hasn't been an approved project yet, outside of helping the sewer connections, facilitating those to get those connected. Because once we've kind of passed that hurdle, then it can just focus on the road.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you all. We will move on. Anybody have any announcements of any kind or nothing? All right. At this point, we will set the regular agenda. This is an opportunity to approve the regular agenda as presented or add or delete an agenda item by a majority vote of the council members present. Lauren?
I have one item I'd like to add under the consent agenda. Letter O would be consider resolution 20-060, which is approving a minor subdivision for Joe Bune. We did provide you a copy of the proposed subdivision, RCA resolution. There's also a copy in the packet in the back of the room.
Okay, I would look for a motion to approve the agenda with that addition.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. West, second by Mr. Lawrence. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of council minutes for June 8th, 2020.
Make the motion for approval.
Okay, motion by Mr. Rolfe,
Second.
second by Mr. Tradewell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Acknowledge the receipt of the Park Commission minutes for June 17th, 2020. At this time, we are at the consent agenda. I don't know if you have anything that you can put up there for this, quite a few items.
Yeah, just a note on the Park Commission minutes, as you know, some of the residents spoke to that trail issue. We took that off the agenda tonight as well, since the engineer is not available, but we anticipate putting that on the July 13th agenda for discussion and possibly some action one way or the other.
Okay, well, and Diane too, if you folks decide that you don't want to move ahead with that, you can always rescind that too. If at your meeting, so. Yeah, so. I'm waiting for Lauren to put that up there, otherwise I'll have to read all these, which gets to be very tedious.
There you go.
Okay, so there is the consent agenda. We have item O listed at the bottom as well. So this obviously contains several items which are acted upon the council in one motion. However, upon request by any one council member, city staff, or the public, a consent agenda item may be removed and put on the regular agenda for discussion and consideration. So that being said, is there anything on there that any council member or member of the audience would like to pull off of that consent agenda?
Lauren, and planning and zoning, that's gonna happen on the 13th, right? The one up in St. Francis, the new development up there.
Yep, all the action items from the June 18th planning commission meeting will be on the July 13th.
Okay, thank you.
So,
I'll make a motion to pass the consent agenda, including A through O.
Second.
okay, motion by Mr. West, second by Mr. Lawrence. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Interim Chief, do you have anything you would like to speak to? Nothing? Planning Department, I guess that's you, Lauren?
It would be me tonight. We have a couple items under here. The first one is a development agreement for Collins Corner. This is a subdivision that you approved a couple months ago. They are closing, or very close to closing on the property and moving forward with their development. And that is located just across the street here from City Hall, kind of adjacent to St. Pat's Church, along 201st and Flamingo. 32-lot, single-family residential development. Attached is the development agreement as drafted by the city attorney. Copy has been forwarded to the developer. This is what they will sign, basically obligating them to complete the public improvements in the project, which in this case are city streets. And they have to provide the city with enough security in order to finish that project if they were not able to finish that project. So we require 125% of the engineer's estimate of the total cost of the project in a form of security, either a letter of credit or cash that we hold until the project is done.
I was just curious, Lauren, on this conditions of approval, item 8. There must only be one lot that has double frontage, isn't there?
Well, no, there's several.
Really?
Because many of them back up on Flamingo and 201st, but there will be an internal road that's going to be constructed, so they will have frontage on the existing road and a new road.
Oh, okay. Yeah, since
So-
the map wasn't here anymore, I couldn't really tell what
Yeah,
was.
and they plan for that from the beginning. They are basically constructing a berm all along the 201st and Flamingo lots to provide that buffer for the double frontage lots.
Okay. All right. Any questions from anybody? No?
I'll make a motion to approve the development agreement for public improvements in the plat of the Collins Corner.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Mr. West, second by Mr. Rolfe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item B.
Item B is a development agreement for the Viking Bluffs development. This is located at the intersections of County Road 7 and 22 on both sides of the road. They have some commercial lots that are going to have frontage along Viking Boulevard on the southwest intersection. And then on the southeast intersection, they have some lots along the Rum River there. So there's approximately 30 lots in there as well, most residential, but there are a couple of commercial lots in there. This group as well is moving forward with their project. We did issue them a grading permit so they could get in and get started on grading the project. But now in order to move forward with the paving of the roads and the others, they'll need to sign the development agreement and provide the security for the rest of the project.
Okay. This is something we'd already seen in the past too, so.
Yep, this was approved, I think, in
Yeah.
April or May.
So I'll make a motion to approve the development agreement for public improvements in the plat of Viking Bluffs.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. West, second by Mr. Lawrence. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item C.
Item C is a request for extension of River Bluffs of Oak Grove final plat approval. This was a plat that was approved, I think, in January by the council. The applicant at the time has since backed out of the project. I believe they were in a purchase agreement situation, so it's kind of reverted back to the original property owner, and they are actively trying to sell the property and the approved project. So basically, whoever would buy this would have to assume all of the conditions of approval. They would have to, assume the development agreement and post all of the security that are required for the roads in there. So they have requested up to 2 plat extensions. So typically, a final plat is good for 120 days. They have 120 days to meet all the conditions of approval, sign the development agreement, and record the plat at Anoka County. We run into this from time to time where people request an extension or 2. So they're requesting 2 right up front. I'm comfortable with that if the council is comfortable with that. Gives them time to continue to market the property and try to sell it to a developer. I've taken a fair amount of calls, maybe 4 or 5 people that are interested in it, but they haven't moved forward yet.
So what is their actual extension?
So it
deadline?
would be until November 9th of 2020.
November
If
9th.
it needed to go beyond that, they would have to request an additional one. And,
I guess I wouldn't see any reason why we wouldn't allow it if it came to that.
I mean, they've done all the work. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of assuming all the obligations and moving forward with the project.
Right. Okay,
Then I would make a motion to approve 2059, giving them their 120-day extra extension.
to
Okay.
120.
Two, sorry,
to 120 days.
for the final plat of River Bluffs.
And just for a reference, this is a plat that's also on County Road 7, generally between 219th Avenue and 224th Avenue, I think. Almost to the St. Francis border.
And it also includes that outlot on the east
It
side of
does
the river. as
include an
well.
outlet on the east side of the Rum River as well.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Tradewell,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Rolfe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, Lauren, now you have your administrator updates.
Can we do the
20 dash.
the action item, the COVID preparedness plan first?
And that's the one that's on the list.
Oh, that is first, yep, okay.
Yeah,
So before you, so just background information. Initially, a lot of the businesses that were allowed to open early had to have filed this COVID-19 preparedness plan. They didn't necessarily have to file with the state, but they had to have one on file so that if the state requested it, they had to produce it, basically. Initially, local units of government were considered essential services and did not require this, so I had started one a while ago and just kind of shelved it because we didn't need to have one, but now we do. Under Executive Order 20-74, released by Governor Tim Walz on June 5th, critical sector businesses, including government entities like cities, are now required to adopt a COVID-19 preparedness plan. Previously, only non-critical businesses were required to have a preparedness plan prior to reopening. Cities do not have to stop operations while creating a plan, but they must adopt a plan by tonight, June 29th. So I've attached one for your review. I would just say the plan is fluid and will be modified as needed. We are required to have this. I've discussed the changes we've done here at City Hall for the most part. The most visible one is the plexiglass that we've installed at the counter. We're doing increased cleaning of the entryways and council chambers after meetings. Those are the main things. So I tried to keep it simple, just enough to basically have a plan on file. And it is, as an employer, we're obligated to provide a safe working environment for employees. So I've been let all employees know that if they have suggestions on way we can do things better, or if they have concerns with what we're doing, to let us know, and we would take that under advisement and make any changes that were necessary. So that's why I say it's a fluid plan and will be modified as needed. I think Bob or city attorney sent out an email, I think, to everybody before the meeting, basically just saying that, it's fine if you adopt it tonight. I don't have to bring every little change back to you. I'd certainly keep you updated if we make any major changes to it.
sure. I don't see anything in here. I mean, it's almost like a boilerplate thing, other than the one item here, I can't find it right offhand, but where we may require employees to go get tested,
Yeah.
which I don't want to leave in there.
And I don't think we will. I mean, we've had a couple that early on that we will send people home if they're experiencing those symptoms, and we did
That's
that.
one thing.
We did that, but we have not required anyone to get tested.
But I'd prefer just to take it out.
Okay,
I don't even want it in there.
take it out.
Otherwise, the rest of it, to me, is pretty benign. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
I don't think it's bad to have a plan, but if we just say we're not gonna go with the governor's executive order, what
Maybe-
happens?
Maybe we have
Shut
to,
down?
maybe we have to close.
You know what I'm saying? I'm fine having a plan, I just
way to
don't know
save
why
a little
he's
money.
telling us that that's what we need to do.
Now you're sounding like Scott.
I know, right? Do it or
Well,
what?
it's
What?
sitting by him too long, huh? But you know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean,
I
that
was
would be
actually
my,
thinking the same.
that would be my comment too, but I don't really think there's anything that
Not really a
bad
downside to it.
on it, We could always tell them to go, jump.
I tried to bring something that I think made sense for us, that was simple, covers us as an employer. Your comment, I would say the item I'm gonna update you on next, probably requires us to have this on file.
Yeah, I'm just saying the plan. I'm not against that. I think we should have a plan here just for liability, if nothing else, and to keep people safe, but I just have a hard time with him telling us.
Have a one sentence plan, stay safe.
Right, stay safe out there.
Use common sense.
Yeah.
But this was, I would say, watered down from some of the boiler template ones I saw, so I did not include everything in there.
Well, we can always pass this and we can all have a chance to review it over the next 2 weeks and we can change it.
Oh, I read the whole thing. I mean, it's pretty standard.
It
I
is.
just don't like being told that's what we have to do.
No, I don't either. So, well, like his question, I mean, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna make us stop having council meetings if we don't have a plan?
I don't know what they would do to that, but I mean, as an employer, we could be fined by OSHA, because there's lots of language in there about that, or other agencies potential, but the CARES Act, which I was going to touch on next, the city is about to get a pretty significant amount of money from the CARES Act that was passed. And, we've talked about this before, resolutions opposing stuff, is that going to affect the city to be able to obtain those funds? And for us, what we've said is that, we want to obtain these funds to be able to give them to our businesses if we need to. We want them to be penalized for that. So I think this keeps us in compliance.
Well, like I said, I don't have a problem with it as long as you take that, we may send people out for testing. I don't want to even have that in there because then all of a sudden it's, well, it says we may if we want, and then it happens.
I'm fine with that. If you want to just make a motion with that edit, I'll make that change.
You want to make the motion, Weston?
Well,
He
I don't want to
doesn't really
cause
like
any
it.
more problems for any of our local businesses either. But
No.
like I'm being bought off here, so
That's how it always, more
It's
money,
usually
more
the way it
strings.
is,
Yeah.
you get bought off, pretty much. You give them your money and then they twist your arm
Some
and
of
give
it
it back,
with
yeah.
stipulations.
Yep. All right, well, is there a motion to approve it with the exception of may send people out for testing?
I'll make the motion to approve it, with the exception of sending people out for testing.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Tradewell. Might die for lack of a second, I
I
don't
know.
know.
Well, thanks.
I don't know.
I'll second it for the businesses and
All
stuff.
right.
That's all I'm thinking of.
Second by
I
Mr.
still feel
Rolfe.
kind of dirty about it, but
Any more, anybody else want to complain? No? You want to complain, Joe? John, no complaints?
No complaints.
All right. Motion by Mr. Tradewell, second by Mr. Rolfe. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-2.
I knew you'd do that.
We do did you get those?
Yeah, I can tell you. Yes was Mr. Tradewell, Mr. Deno, and Mr. Rolfe.
Got it, okay.
The noes were Mr. Lawrence and Mr. West,
Got it, okay.
the two rebels. Principal. Well, I agree, even though I voted for
You
it.
should have.
I agree too, but I don't want to, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those stupid things where you have to do it, you know?
I don't want to hurt the business.
Gets to be more and more of those things. Eventually, there's really no need for us to show up.
Yeah, true. Let the state run the house.
So I do have a couple other updates under my administrative report, both probably related to COVID. The first one, the bad news is we've canceled the fall recycling this day. We hope to be able to resume normal recycling days in 2021. So that notice did go out in the summer newsletter, which will be delivered in the next couple weeks to residents.
Just be more junk in the ditches.
Well, we've tried to encourage people to use some of the vendors that would normally be at recycling day. A few of them are located very close by, so we've included that information. Hopefully people will utilize that or save it for next year. It will not put us in jeopardy of the recycling funds that we receive from Anoka County. We confirmed with them first, they give us a goal every year of tonnage, and she said it will not jeopardize our funds if we do not hold those events. Other cities are doing that as well. We just encourage residents that if they do any recycling, if they bring it on their own, to turn in their receipts and still gets credited towards the city, towards their annual recycling goal. The second one is the Federal CARES Act that was approved recently. Some of you may remember that this was money that was going to the state, counties, and cities. The legislators were originally going to, come up with a proposal to distribute that to local units of government, and they were unable to do so in the special session. So I think it was Thursday or Friday when the governor basically signed an executive order into releasing those funds to local units of government. So there's a formula based on population. So the city is expected to receive $654,632 in the very near future. That being said, those dollars can only be used towards COVID-19 related expenses. To date, I would say our COVID related expenses are under 20 grand for sure, maybe even under 10 grand. Any funds that are not used have to be sent back. So I anticipate us sending the majority of that back to them by the end of the year. But that being said, we have incurred some expenses with hand sanitizer, installing plexiglass, and we're going to incur some expenses for elections this year. It's an election year. We have to follow the state guidelines for elections, which means probably some more plexiglass and more supplies that we would normally buy. Our one major change that we made initially for for COVID-related response was our medical response from our fire department and how we did that. You know, we initially we had lots of people showing up for calls, and we didn't want that to potentially expose and isolate our entire department. So what we did for that is we established 3 shifts a day of teams of 2, basically, that would commit to responding to medical calls during those assigned shifts, and that has been working out really well. So we are continuing that, and maybe even be a new model going forward. Basically, I think we're getting the right amount of people to respond to medical calls. There are certain medical calls that require more people, and if that's the case, more are paged out. I think the interim chief and the officers have done a really good job of evaluating this model every month, identifying what issues are and trying to fix them or coming up with solutions to them, and it seems to be a good program, and maybe it's something we continue in the long term. So those were not budgeted costs. So getting back to the CARES Act, basically anything that was budgeted in your normal budget is not eligible for these funds. That particular thing, we have incurred some additional costs with that because we are paying anybody that signs up for a shift a guaranteed of 2 hours, so they're getting 2 hours of their wage, and we have work detail for them to do, and then if they do get called out on call, that's on top of that. But those are costs that were not budgeted for that I believe would be eligible for reimbursement. And another thing that we've talked about doing is converting one of our grass rigs, the quad cab pickup truck, into a second possible rescue truck until we get our new rescue truck later this year. That too could be a reimbursable expense.
Okay. And then you sent out a notification to all the businesses that you're aware of in the city?
I sent out a notification to all the businesses that I have on my list 2 weeks ago. This was the grant, the forgivable grant to businesses, small employers, up to $10,000, I believe, and encourage them to apply if they qualified for that. The CARES Act does allow cities or EDAs to set up forgivable loan programs or additional grants if the city wanted to. I think most of our businesses would be covered under that $10,000 grant, but if you guys think we need to do more, we can talk about that. We would have to bring forward a resolution, some program parameters, and an application process if you wanted to do additional grants or loans. A lot of cities already have loan programs set up through their EDA. We don't, so we would have to establish one. Same with grants. And those are eligible expenses under the CARES Act, but only for COVID-related expenses to the businesses as well.
Well, and the other one, the $10,000 one, was also basically the same parameters, right?
It really was, yeah.
So if they qualified for that, they'd get all their expenses paid for, $10,000 or less. They wouldn't really be able to put any over into this one. I guess as long as we know that the people are covered with what they needed.
What I'm going to do is check in with Jaquel at Anoka County and have her do a follow-up with our businesses again, just to check in with them to see if they've gotten the help that they need, or if there's a need for this. You know, we can certainly bring something back and discuss it at a future meeting.
What about infrastructure for COVID, for being able, WebEx and all that? I mean, can we make our system work better and use those dollars for it so that we can support people being at home to attend our meetings without having to hold the cell phone to the speaker? And that's not an offense,
No.
right? You know where I'm going.
I know where you're going with that. I believe so, but to be determined.
But that would
A
be a
whole list
really
of
good.
Eligible and ineligible expenses.
Okay.
Generally speaking, anything that was budgeted for, not eligible.
And that wasn't.
Anything that is revenue replacement, not eligible. That's for both businesses and for government. So it's directly related expenses to COVID-19 response.
Because a lot of people have had to change, businesses and our cities and stuff, had to change their footprint and what they're doing and the infrastructure in order to support remote people.
Yep.
So,
And we cobbled something together. I do have the AV people that installed our system last year to give us a quote to install an appliance, basically, that would run the system through our AV system, so we wouldn't be using the cell phone anymore.
okay.
Well, maybe that's a good point. I
I think
mean,
even long-term, that would be a benefit for us to have
Yeah.
consultants or others participate remotely.
they keep talking about how we're gonna have this second wave, so
We'll
it
see.
might be a good thing to try to put in there.
Yep.
So, good idea. Anything else?
I think just two other project updates, quick. You know, we've touched on them a couple. The trail connection that was proposed by the Park Commission. Plan is to have that on the July 13th council agenda for council action. And then the South Lake George assessment project. I think we should have a resolution to all the sewer connections so we can just focus on the bituminous paving for the council to consider that project.
Okay. Is that it for you?
That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any requests or updates? Nothing?
Can you believe it? I have one.
Yeah, yeah.
I forgot to tell you guys, but you know, way back when we were talking about that development going in and the folks up by St. Francis were worried about that corner coming off. What was that corner there?
219th, 220th? Right?
Yeah, 220th, because it's the one further north. But you know, they said the visibility was bad and
121st.
yeah, they're gonna get run over and all that. But Anoka County did come out and they
Right,
did
yeah.
clear the sight lines. And the one gentleman that was up here, you know, the guy I know, he called and one other person and said it was much, much, much better. So that was good. We were able to do something for him. So not everything. We didn't get him a turn lane or anything, but at least Anoka County did get out there and they did make the sight lines better. So I forgot to tell you.
When is
guys.
Anoka County planning on coming here? I know they're planning on it. You don't know yet?
I do know. It's either July 13th or July 26th.
Okay.
Oh, no, for the highway department?
Yeah.
July 26th is the tentative date for them.
All right.
The sheriff's office is going to be coming too in July for the deputies, since we didn't do that in March.
So that's the either or date for the sheriff.
For the sheriff, yeah. But for the highway department to give a presentation on the 221st and County Road 9 project would be a work session ahead of the July 26th meeting at 6 p.m.
Okay. All right. Anything else from anybody? All right. Well, in that case, we are not adjourning. We have a closed meeting after this. So we're going to take like a 5-minute recess and everybody can leave and then we'll have a closed meeting after that. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.